Up Legends here for Draftstars. We have a couple games left. We got the Dragons there up against the Tigers. We also have the Titans up against Newcastle, which is going to be a very interesting couple of games. I'd say some higher scoring ones, considering all four of the teams can't make the finals anymore. And I'm going to think to see a lot of attacking footy in this one. So with the outside backs in that Dragons Tigers game, I feel like Birdie's probably just a little bit too expensive in that centre position. He obviously, the last 2 weeks in that 13 role has been a superstar. The two before that, he was at centre. I just think it's too much money to spend on a centre, basically. Lomax would be a much better selection if you were going for someone a little bit more expensive than the others at 15,000. If you think the Dragons are going to win, I think there's a good chance that happens for sure. Obviously, Jaden Campbell's in some decent form as well, averaging 43. Gagai's had a couple of good games as well, so 2 of his last 3 have been over 59, which has been pretty cool. And if you think he can do that again to round out the year, then he's pretty interesting, just under 14k. And then lower down the line, Dane Laurie had a couple of good games in a row, and there's been pretty low since Edric Lee's a solid one at that, that easy 12,500 price. To be honest with you, 34 is his lowest in the last 5 games, so I'd be getting Edric in your sides. And then lower than that, you got Kapoa, who had a real low one 2 weeks in a row after being really consistent. So I don't know if you can play him at all at the moment. Philip Sami's had a few low ones as well of recent times, so a little bit annoying for him. And I'll probably go right to the bottom there with Christian Matulangi, who is $9,000 there. At 40.5 was his average in that first. It was what he hit in that first game, and I think he can do that again. Something like that. If there's a bit of a high-scoring game, he can pick up a try. All right, Adam Dewey's the guy you want on your side in this one. 21,000, averaging 58. That includes a lower one last week, and I think he can get back into the 60s plus this week and do a great job for you. Jaden Braley's another one. I think it's a strong pick at 19.7 in the other game. I would pick him first for sure. And then you have AJ Brimson as well, who, along with Tanner Boyd, are really steering the ship nicely in terms of getting good scores over the last few weeks. So a mixture of those three, whether you have one in your flex and then one in your normal starting halves, I think would be the way to go. In this one, you got Talatau Amone, who's coming off two really good games, a 44, his lowest in the last 2, and an 86. So he could be a solid one, but very expensive now. So I wouldn't be looking to really jump in and take over from, jump in and pick him on that one. We move to the forwards now, and you've got Dave Fafita, who's obviously the one that could come out and do a big domination on this game against the Newcastle Knights there. So he's someone you need to think about. Tino's obviously had a couple of good games in a row, really. 2 over 60 in this one, so he's definitely solid. If you don't have the extra 2k, you can go down to Tino. And Joel Fangawi is obviously a solid one. He's had his lowest score of 54 in his last 5 efforts. So anything above that, I think you'd be pretty happy in this one. You could also go Clemmer, who had a really good game last week, and you could expect that every second week he's going to get a 50 plus. So if you think that's enough for his price, then go for it. Frizzell's been playing a lot better too, so just over 17k. He's getting him with an average of 51.5, so much better the last bunch of weeks for him. You got Kel Matulangi, who's had a couple of really big games and then 2 low ones in a row now, so can he bounce back? That's probably the question you need to ask. Pole has been averaging pretty well, but I think at 14,500 now, he's definitely not he's definitely a luxury pick. I don't think you're going to get the points that you need exactly out of him in this one, unfortunately. You got Musgrove as well and Daniel Safidi, who are averaging solidly, but I think you can go for better in someone like Brodie Jones, who's averaging 47 and had a nice 52 last week. Is cheaper than a lot of them, and I think this has more opportunity to get up near that 50 than some of these other guys. If we're going down from there, I think Tom Freeman's an interesting one this week. With him playing in the 11 role, I could see a decent score like he got in that first game that he played. That was off the bench, but big minutes there. And I think that on the edge, if he can get sort of 60 plus minutes, I think he can do a good job. I also got a few guys out, which is very interesting. But Matty Croker's another one who's had 2 great scores in the last 3 weeks as well. So if you need someone at that cheap point, then he is your man. And then you got McIntyre again, who you could pick up at the $9,000 mark, who obviously got 23 last week, but he did get the starting 9. And if he has any game where he can get big tackle numbers and maybe a few runs at a dummy half, I think he could prove to be a little bit of a helpful winner in that matchup there when you can spend up on guys like Brimson, Jaden Campbell, Tanner Boyd, and these types of guys. So that is that video, guys. I wish you all the luck in the Sunday matchups, and we'll catch you in the review show. See you later, guys.